chock-a-block here. Okay. So that's our cue to more or less begin. Good to see you all. There's the many of the crew are here. So we're gonna probably get a couple more people coming in. Let's begin with a little quiet time, downtime. Calming our mind, first of all, watching the breathing, and then we'll try to set a motivation for the class. So I like to say in words because I have to remind myself, relax your body, relax your mind. Relaxing your mind. Remember, there's nothing else you have to think about. So don't multitask now. Don't think about your, politics or anything else. Place your mindfulness on the breathing in front. With the mind a little bit relaxed, focused, calm. Today, just let go of your attention to the breathing and focus on your mental consciousness. You might like to start from scratch, just watching if there's still some residual thoughts or images and sensing the spaciousness between the thoughts, around them, so to speak, out of which they are arising, the clear light nature, or just remembering from the past meditations that insight into that clear light nature, having a remembering consciousness of that. different methods to let go of the appearances within the mind that are other than the clarity, such as I have some bright lights shining on me for the broadcast. So I have to let go of the attention to that, the attention that the mental consciousness pays to that, as though turning your back on that and looking, watching the subjective mind rather than the objective thoughts. Let go of your attention to the appearance of your body that your mental consciousness may be paying attention to sometimes, the pains and so forth. Let go of your attention to the appearance of I, the meditator, myself meditating. That's just an appearance to the mind. What we're trying to do is get a image, an understanding of what's called the conventional clear light nature, or can be called the conventional Buddha potential. There are no impediments to developing new virtuous thoughts. There are no impediments to getting rid of faulty states of mind. They're not stuck in your mind. They're not the nature of your mind. Your mind is not stained by them. So we can have a little bit of beginning of understanding how we can achieve enlightenment. Our mind has that potential. Here we're only talking about the conventional level, not the emptiness of the mind. Our ability to know this right now is due to the fact that we have a life of leisure and endowment, as we've said in the past, recognizing that, making again a resolution to take advantage of this, to make it meaningful, or to take the essence of this meaningful opportunity to practice the Dharma this lifetime, especially this evening, to become a better person, to overcome my own problems, first of all, so that I don't harm others, but then to develop empathy and compassion for others so I can actually benefit them with insights and understanding of reality, karma, and dependent origination. And to take on the responsibility of following the Bodhisattva path. All of this requires understanding and knowledge. So I think I'm going to listen, participate in the talk this evening about the glance meditation on the Lan Rim, especially as we're in the section now on the Mahayana, to better understand how to practice and to be able to put that into practice. I'm going to listen in order to achieve enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. I think that's why I'm entering into this activity this evening. And then relax. Bring your attention back to the present. So, anyone have a question or comment they wanted to address? It's okay. We're missing Kim. Is Kim off?
Jennifer had to go into the city today.
Oh, yeah, like Kim. Jennifer Kim.
Yeah, no, she said to apologize for not being able to attend the teaching.
Oh, there's no problem. Okay. So, so before we began, maybe before some of you came on, Sunny was asking a question about a clarification from our last talk when we were talking about the two bodhicittas, conventional bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. I was putting conventional bodhicitta on my right here, sort of method side, and ultimate bodhicitta on my left. In Buddhism, they're related to the method and wisdom. So we always, in many different aspects, we talk about method and wisdom. Method are in a sense, the skillful means or methods are the activities that we do dealing with conventional reality, karma, generating love and compassion, renunciation, all of those could be called a method. They're dealing with conventional reality. And by practicing the method side, we create merit, Tibetan sonam. That is the merit that we collect or we accumulate. The collection of that is the substantial cause of our eventual Buddha bodies, the Nirmanakaya and Sambhogakaya, the emanations that other people see in conventional reality. On the other side, we also try to accumulate a collection of wisdom, which comes about through understanding emptiness. That collection of accumulation of the collection of wisdom becomes a substantial cause of our omniscient mind eventually. So, we talk about also when we talk about the mind is inextricably connected with its mounted wind or mounting wind. We say the mind is mounted on the wind, or the wind is the mount of the mind. Kind of like wherever the wind goes, like wherever the horse goes, the rider goes, right? He has no choice. If he's velcroed on or epoxied onto the back of the horse, it's like our minds all have a certain motility, a wind, a prana that acts as its mount. So they're inextricable like that. So when we talk about conventional bodhicitta, what we're talking about is the thought to achieve, or let's say not the thought, at first maybe it's a thought, but eventually actual bodhicitta, conventional bodhicitta, is a special primary mind. it's not the mental factors. It's not a thought. Bodhicitta actually is a special Mahayana primary mind that acts as the doorway to enter into the Mahayana. And it is brought about because of two, you could say, thoughts. One is out of compassion for others, wanting to alleviate the suffering of others. That's one of the conventional, thoughts that become causes of bodhicitta. And the other is the thought, I must, in order to bring about myself, the alleviation of suffering of others, I must achieve enlightenment. So those thoughts, when brought together in the right way, cause a primary mind, a mental consciousness to be developed that will continue day and night, even when you're asleep, collecting virtuous karma. The thought, I must achieve enlightenment for the sake of others. That's called conventional bodhicitta. Once you have conventional bodhicitta in your mind stream, and I think that was one of the things or mental continuum that Sunny was getting confused about the terminology. So in a sense, our mind has, exists instant by instant, but there is a continuum, like a stream, the continuum of the river, or the stream of the river that goes from life to life. It's come from the past and will continue, is now with us and will continue in the future. Within the continuum of a mind that has developed conventional bodhicitta, once that person has insight, realization of emptiness, that realization is called ultimate bodhicitta. Okay. So conventional bodhicitta, ultimate bodhicitta. Okay. Does that clarify, Sunny? Is that more clear now? Now, maybe I've confused someone else who didn't have that question to begin with. Anyone else? Is that okay? Everyone? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So last time we'd gotten up to the verse Jowa Shidan Dempe Tapkeki. Maybe put it up for a second. I'll see what your English translation says here. We talked about this a little. There we go. 98.
Yes.
Jowa Shidan Tempe Tapkeki. Tela Kangdu Gomla Joadang. Lojong Dapsik Lapchain. Nyamlengi Deljo Donchen Chebarjingilo. I think I just kind of introduced that last time. Maybe talked a little bit about it. So like one of the previous verses that talked about the 5 powers, and when we talked about the 5 powers, I mentioned how some translator had looked in the dictionary for what they were, not in the context of the training of the mind, the Lojong, and he mistook what they were. They were like the what do we call it? The force of intention, or inertia, or propulsion, the force of the white seed, the force of what did I want to call it? You remember what I called it before? Sort of like the state of mind that wants to get rid of negative things. Sungjin Yito. The force of familiarity and the force of prayer. Those were the 5 forces. Now here also, when we talk about Jorwa Shi, the 4 applications, or in this text it says through the skillful means possessing the 4 practices. So what are those 4 practices, or 4 applications? So the commentary by Ngutu Dharmabhadra says, the way he's explaining it, he says that when unbearable sufferings such as illness and spirit harm and so forth arise up to oneself or curve for oneself. If you have the unbearable suffering, you can apply these 4 applications in that context. So here it says, these sufferings that I'm experiencing are a wake-up call from my guru. It says, Lama Chuki Kulmar Nangwe Yin Yamdu, thinking these are, are provided by my guru as a exhortation to practice the Dharma. This is it's sort of in line of what we've talked about before, how to transform situations into the path. So in a situation like that, you apply these 4 applications. So one of them is collecting virtuous karma, collecting merit. Well, also accumulating collection of wisdom, to overcome these problems, to better cope with them. And if you talk about the collection of merit, if you don't have enough to eat, if your whole life has been suffering and so forth, to realize that the root cause of that is not having a collection of karma that will ripen now in resources and good things. So to collect virtuous karma. When your mind becomes uncontrolled, I remember once when I went to see Lama Yeshe, very miserable at Kopan in probably 1975 or 74 or something. I said, oh, Lama, my mind is just a mess. I can't control my mind. Something like this. And Lama said, best thing to do is to offer the mandala to the Buddha, to your guru, who you understand is an emanation of the omniscient mind, right? Remember when we talked about guru devotion, very special kind of practice. You can imagine just offering to the Buddha, who's not your personal guru. Oh, my guru's all mixed up. They're not healthy. They make mistakes. They're, you might think like that. If you make offerings to the omniscient mind, to the perfect, that which you imagine is perfect, you accumulate very powerful virtuous karma. But if you offer to someone who is physically present, who you imagine as guiding your practice, they might scold you sometime. Don't eat while talking or something. It says like mother or something, grandma or something like that. Cover your mouth when you sneeze or something like that. Or more Dharma-oriented advice. Do this, do that. You accumulate when you offer to a physical guru, you accumulate, you receive very quick blessings. When you offer to the omniscient mind, you receive very powerful blessings. When you make offerings or you attend to your spiritual guru, you receive very quick blessings. So if you can do it together, if you understand your guru as an emanation of the Buddha, he's the representative of the omniscient mind, is the emanation of the Buddha for you, you receive very powerful and quick blessings. So Lama said, offer mandala. Mandala, means you imagine the entire vessel world, not just this world that we call Earth, but the sun, the moon, the planets, beyond that, other stars and possible, solar systems within our galaxy, beyond that, other galaxies, even beyond our universe, that we have an idea of having a certain number of, they say, a certain number of estimates, certain number of galaxies in our universe, maybe 100 billion, or I can't remember how many they think. Even beyond that, other universes that we can't see, that Buddhism understands exist where Buddhas are appearing in some worlds the Buddhas are not appearing, but there are sentient beings offering all of this transformed into how a Buddha would perceive them, sort of like a Buddha realm, offering to the guru, collecting merit. Or you could just, as we've talked about before, even when you're walking around town, when you see the trees and the flowers and the birds and the sky, offer that beauty to your guru, the Buddhas and so forth. Even if you're walking by Bonwit Teller or what's in New York City, I don't know what stores you see attractive things that you can offer that to the Buddha also, your food and so forth. Anything that's owned and unowned, you can offer. So collecting merit is the first of the accumulating the collections. Here, we're saying merit. You can also meditate on emptiness to accumulate the collection of wisdom. Then Dipajong means purify obscurations. So here at the beginning, the main thing you do, because you're not eliminating the obstructions to omniscience yet, you try to eliminate your faulty states of mind, purify negative karma. So applying the 4 opponent forces, I think maybe that's where we've gotten somewhere last time, applying the 4 opponent forces to, you're under, like bad stuff is happening to you. You get criticized, you're down on your luck, you're unhappy, you're worried about this. Maybe I've got, I'm going to need I'll have a big dental bill. I don't have insurance, or I may have cancer or this or that, whatever. All of this arises because of the ripening of negative karma, all of the bad things that occur to us. So to purify negative karma is the second activity. Okay. Here it says Dipajong, so that means, purifying obstructions. So that also means overcoming, so there are two, when we talk about the deluded obstructions, the afflicted obstructions, the klesha avarana, that includes the delusions in our mind and self-grasping. So meditating on the antidote to the delusions, overcoming your anger, your attachment, your jealousy, your low self-esteem, and so forth. So one side, accentuating the positive, collecting good stuff, and then eliminating bad stuff. Like my mother, there was a song, I think, when she grew up, you've got to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative. Don't mess with Mr. In Between. Anyone remember that? No one's old enough to remember that. Maybe your mom, remember that. Okay. So those are the first two. Accentuate and eliminate, you could say. Then you can think like this, thinking how kind it was to be exhorted like this to practice the Dharma. These, because these bad things that happen to us, adverse conditions or problems in our life, if we realize correctly, they're exhorting us to practice the Dharma. They're almost like a gift from the guru. So thinking how kind it was to exhort us to this, to first of all, to make torma offerings to the spirits and obstructors. So, and you're thinking, when you're doing this, you think, some of the great Lanrim gurus would think, when there were, I think it was Geshe Kanglungpa, whose recent reincarnation on Earth is Kamlung Rinpoche in Wisconsin. Maybe Paul remembers from Deer Park, Kamlung Rinpoche. Supposedly he was in previous life, he was called the crying Geshe, because he would meditate on the suffering of the spirits that were harming him, like a lot of other gurus. Other gurus were also called, had similar kind of experience. And out of their great compassion for the spirits, when the spirits harmed them and they were able to practice the Dharma, they actually thought more of the welfare of those spirits out of compassion and thanked them. The crying Geshe Kanlungpa thanked the spirits for bringing these harms. It's almost counterintuitive. You can imagine some of the spirits might feel embarrassed when they were being thanked for harming. They feel a little bit shy and may not harm as much after that. Making sense? Okay. So we offer tormas to the particular spirits and that we may have. Like in my house, in my cabin, when I first moved in, I felt like there was some spirit that came at a certain time, many days, and over the course of time, making offerings and prayers and just purifying the mind can start to go away, these adverse conditions. Yeah, I'll mention that again. And then the fourth, so that's the third, making offerings to the spirits and obstructors. You might say, like in a worldly sense, if there are people in your neighborhood, like the criminal elements that are harming you, it's almost like paying them off, so they don't harm you. Okay, so then the fourth application or fourth practice here is to make torma offerings to the Dharma protectors. So you may say, well, you just said that you were making offering. That was to the negative side, to the obstructors and let's say spirits and so forth. Now making offerings to the Dharma protectors. And there are different ways that people have understood that. One way they would think requesting the Dharma protectors, like we do at the beginning of pujas sometimes, we offer a preliminary torma. You know what torma means? Michael Bealey, do you know what torma means? Torwa is a verb in Tibetan, means like to cast away or to throw away. Tormas were ritual cakes, are ritual cakes that you offer, you transform, you meditate on the emptiness of them, they reemerge out of emptiness through some procedure as, you imagine the delicious and the taste of the hundreds of tastes of the gods' food and so forth, and uncontaminated bliss, and you offer to either spirits or to the Dharma protectors. In the one case, you're asking the spirits not to bother you. At the beginning, sometimes one offers torments to the Dharma protectors who are helping you, in theory, they're protecting the Dharma, that they would eliminate obstacles to your practice. But the real Kadamba practice here in the Lojong, you offer to the Dharma protectors saying, if I need, if the obstacles need to be eliminated, if that's of more benefit, eliminate the obstacles. If I need more impetus to practice, if it's more beneficial for me to suffer, please bring it on. That's kind of radical for us, well, for me, to think, yeah, start feeling something, bring it on. That's kind of the Kadampa, these very pure practitioners who were followers of Atisha. That was their emphasis in that offering to the Dharma protectors. But it's usually mentioned in the text, the thought, praying to them, offering them this torma, say, whatever is best for me and sentient beings. If it's best for these obstacles to be eliminated, please do that. Please eliminate through your, omniscient powers. Please eliminate that. If it's better that I suffer, please, as Michael Loco, please bring it on. Okay, so that's That's one thing in this prayer. So again, the prayer says, "Joa shiran tempe tapkeki tele kandu kon lojong." So with the skillful means that possesses the four activities. Where is it? Oh, there we go. I seek your blessings that I may relate everything I meet into meditation. That comes a little bit later in the verse. Through the skillful means possessing the four practices. So we just talked about the four practices. Joa shiran tempe tapkeki tele kangdu gomla joerang. May I conjoin tele kangdu. Whatever occurs, tele means like what is happening right now. Whatever is happening to you, may you join that in meditation. So, yeah, to be aware everything that's happening to you and use it as a means, as we said before, to enhance the two bodhicittas. Sometimes the situation may be conducive for you to generate love or compassion for others. Sometimes the situation and bodhicitta, sometimes the situation may be more amenable to meditating on emptiness. I think when I gave a talk, some series of talks on the 37 practices in the past, I mentioned one Lama who had come to Kopan in the early years. He was called Gomchen Kapala. Gomchen means great meditator, right? So he was renowned to be the reincarnation of a famous Tibetan saint called Tangtong Gelpo, who was the guy who you see in some tankas with iron chains around him. He was, unlike Milarepa, who Marpa asked to build many towers, Tongtong Gelpo was asked by his guru to build bridges over these, crevasses in the mountains, you couldn't get from one side to the other, to build iron chain bridges and so forth. So his iconography has these iron chains around him. Anyway, he was considered to be like Milarepa, someone who achieved incredible realizations through ascetic practices. And Tongtong Gelpo told us, not Tongtong Gelpo, Gomchen Kapala told us a story about him meditating in an isolated cave where he could see a village somewhere in the distance, but generally he was in the cave meditating within a tent in the cave. That gave him a little more protection. Did I tell you this? Do you remember this story? Oh, okay. So he's meditating in the cave, and I was like in the middle of nowhere, right? On the very difficult to get there. While he's meditating, he senses something walking around his tent. Maybe he sees a shadow, presence, and fear arises. Maybe it's a robber, someone's going to take his possessions or kill him or whatever. So he meditates on emptiness, selflessness, meditating on there's no self here, and is able to subjugate his fear, to subdue his fear, to diminish his fear. And when he arises sometime later, the being, whatever it was gone. So some weeks later, he went down to the village that he could see in the distance. He went down like every couple of months to get supplies. They would get a leather-covered big hunk of butter and some other sampa and other kinds of food and so forth. So he was talking to the storekeeper, and the storekeeper says, "Well, where have you been, Gomchen?" Gomchen said, I've been up in that cave up there, up in the ridge up there. And the storekeeper said, "Oh, you've been up there? Did you see the Yeti?" Okay, you didn't get the, okay. Susie, you know what a Yeti is? Susie Lane?
I'm trying to put that out. Is that no, I don't know. Is that, I'm thinking yak. No.
No, it's like, what do they call it in English? Abominable snowman? It's sort of like, what is it in California? Bigfoot.
Oh,
Some
right, okay.
being that, is cited sometime, and some people say it doesn't exist. Other
Oh, right,
people
okay,
say it
huge.
exists, right? Bigfoot. So the
Well, that's it.
abominable snowman, am I pronouncing that right? Or is it abominable? The local name is Yeti. So it's some kind of being that is really large and doesn't stay around humans, but sometimes appears and can sometimes eats yaks. When you're talking about yaks, yaks are huge, right? So he can do that and harm. Some Lama Sopa Rinpoche's sister, who was running our monastery in Solokhumbu, she swore when I was there, oh yes, I've seen, it's at certain time of year comes and so forth. So the implication was that what was going around his tent was this Yeti, this abominable snowman. And by his meditation on emptiness, he was able to subdue his what do you call it? His vibration, ambiance of fear. And so the Yeti left, kind of like different ways to do that, to alleviate your threat or ambience of fear, or your vibration of threat to others. You can, like Saint, what was it, Saint Aquinas? Who's the one that in Christian Catholic talk that gave food to the animals, the birds would come? Oh, Saint Francis of Assisi. Lama Yeshe used to have statues of Saint Francis all the time. He had great admiration for that loving vibration. So that's sort of on the method side, love and compassion. And on the wisdom side, overcoming your ego, overcoming your vibration, your ambiance of that might be threatening to someone else. Okay. So whatever you encounter using that to enhance the two bodhicittas, whatever occurs to you, I seek your blessings that I may relate everything I meet to meditation, meditating on the two bodhicittas, through the skillful means possessing the four practices, and that I may make this life of freedoms and richnesses, this life, perfect human rebirth, greatly meaningful through practicing the commitments and precepts of the training of the mind, the thought transformation. So what does that mean? Like we said before, in our initial kind of motivation, we have this life of leisure and endowment that could be used to just grab a lot of gusto, like the Schlitz beer commercial I told you about, get more pleasure, have more boyfriends or girlfriends, more money, power, fame. There's a politician a little bit like that. I don't want to mention his name, but you might see that kind of reflection. They always want to be right and never criticized and powerful and beyond the law and everything else. Or you can use a life to develop spiritual qualities, love and compassion and renunciation, bodhicitta, and wisdom of emptiness, and achieve the various spiritual states where you can benefit others. So that's called making your life of leisure and endowment meaningful. That's becoming a real mensch. I remember Diana, who's one of our participants here, she would refer to her dear husband Brock as a mensch, his real mensch, always working for the welfare of others, thinking, to do the best things, not to do mean or, anything like that. So how can we make this life meaningful? One of the ways here that's suggested here that comes from the training of the mind is by, what did we say? Through practicing the commitments and precepts of the Lojong. So, you've probably heard there are different precepts that you take when you take the 24-hour vows, or if you take the vows of a lay person, certain commitments, and if you take tantric initiations, there are various vows and commitments, right? So here there are what are called damsik, so that means kind of commitments or things that you should generally, if you say between vows and commitments, the two words, vows are generally things that you say you won't do. I won't kill, I won't steal. Commitments are things that you say you will do. I commit myself to, practicing this every day, or saying this prayer, or, something like that. Here's called there are 18 commitments of the Lojong, and 22, here it doesn't say vows, 22, what does it call it here? Precepts. Lapcha means actually trainings. So you can find a list of them in various texts. Just to give you an example of a list of you can find in Pabonka Rinpoche's, the FPMT translation of Pabonka Rinpoche's Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand, but here's a couple of them. Say, for instance, transform your attitude, but maintain your natural behavior. So it's kind of one of the commitments here, not to put on a show, in other words, not, one example that comes to mind when we talk about lying, you don't have to lie through your mouth. So for instance, someone says, "Oh, George, I hear you're a great meditator," and you don't say anything, you just go, it's putting on some pretense, or don't change your behavior, but change your mental attitude. Don't speak of others' incomplete qualities, or they lack certain things. Don't speak bad of others. Don't concern yourself with others' business. Well, that's probably something your mother told you anyway, grandmother or aunt or something. So you can see a list of these, and this is a way, by practicing those, even in speech, you create incredible meaning to your life. I mentioned to you before, when Lama Yeshe came to the States the first time, the one fellow that he said that had been to a previous Kopan course in Nepal and come back to the States, had made the greatest progress with someone who worked in the grocery store stacking the shelves. And he would always, Welby Parker just sent you a offer for glasses there. So he would train in the mind, like this, may I benefit all sentient beings and so forth, through reciting these kinds of commitments and trainings. So you can train even in words. So basically that's that stances. I seek your blessings that I may relate everything I meet. May I join everything I meet to meditation. I utilize it in meditation through the skillful means possessing the 4 practices. We talked about the 4 practices, and that I may make this life perfect human rebirth, essentially, greatly meaningful through practicing the commitments and precepts of thought transformation. So it means putting them into practice, even if you can't put them into practice, just saying them in words. One of the things that Lama Zopa would often say, some of these kinds of things, like when you walk up steps, or so when you walk downstairs, think, for the benefit of sentient beings, may I be willing to be born in the lower realms. May I get down into the dirt, always having that kind of, when you go upstairs, may I develop higher and higher qualities for the benefit of sentient beings. When you wash the pan, you think, just like this, may I remove, just as I'm removing the stains in the dishes and the pans, may I remove the obstacles in my and other sentient beings' minds. Always training like that. Okay? So then, Next verse. Move it up a little bit. Here we go. Tonglen lungla kyompe tutek trultek chen. Jamdang ningje lakpe sambai. Dronam siso jele droichir. Jangshub semni jongpa jingilo. So earlier when I talked about the each of these verses is kind of like has a title in terms of the path, what the meditation is about. There were some meditations on renunciation and equalizing, exchanging the self and others, developing bodhicitta and so forth. So here, this is the way to train in actual bodhicitta. You might say, well, we talked about that before. We talked about the seven points of cause and effect, or the equalizing, exchanging self and others. We had that verse that had 5 lines of doing Tonglen. They were preliminary kinds of practices. Now we're talking about how to generate actual bodhicitta. You put all of these elements together. Still involves Tonglen, giving and taking, but here the English translation says, in order to rescue all migrators. Here it says transmigratory beings. Transmigratory beings. Too many syllables for me. In order to rescue all beings or migrators from the vast sea of existence, ocean of samsara, I seek your blessings to train only in bodhicitta through love, compassion, and the special attitude conjoined with the technique of mounting, taking, and giving on the breath. I might have mentioned before in biography of Lama Tsongkhapa, written, I think, by K. Drupje, secret biography or something. He said, Lama Tsongkhapa, even whose breath becomes beneficial for sentient beings. So if you imagine the Tonglen that we talked about before, the imagining taking on the suffering of others, putting it onto your self-cherishing thought, giving away your good qualities, your body, your merits, your possessions to sentient beings. If you can do that on the breathing, when you breathe in, imagine taking on the suffering of sentient beings. And so quickly, if you're trained in that, then even at the time you're breathing out, exhalation, imagine sending out to sentient beings all of your qualities, giving for them. That's called mounting, giving and taking on the breath. So the verse, in the English translation, they kind of try to put it in a way they almost read from the back of the sentence, but the verse actually says, Tonglen lungwa kyope tu cheng chen, jamdang ningche lakpe sambayi. With love, it's jampa. Maitreya is the Sanskrit word for love. Jampa is the Tibetan word. Jamdang ningje. Ningje means compassion. Lakbe sam, laksam, means the special intention. Here it says special attitude. Remember when we talked about the 7 points of cause and effect. So understanding all sentient beings have been your mother, recalling their kindness, developing resolving to repay their kindness, heartwarming love, which is not complete jamba, great compassion. And then the 6th one was called the exceptional thought. Here is called special attitude. Dalai Lama sometimes calls it universal responsibility. That's the last cause before developing bodhicitta. So here it's talking about love, having developed actual love that wishes other sentient beings be conjoined with happiness, like in the 4 immeasurable thoughts. May all sentient beings have happiness in the cause of happiness. Also having Mahayana compassion, the thought that may all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. And well, Mahayana translation, Mahayana great compassion means, may I do, may I do that. Here, Laksam is, may I do that by myself alone. Lama Zopa Rinpoche, many times when he gives motivations, maybe you remember, may I do that alone, by myself, taking the entire responsibility upon oneself. So how does this work? When you're going to try to practice mounting, giving and taking on the wind, on the breathing. So remember I talked at the beginning of the talk how every mind has its mounting wind, its mobility. That's what moves it. And the mind is conjoined with that, consciousness is conjoined with that. So here when you have a thought, you can imagine the mounting wind of that. You begin by giving. You imagine first developing a thought of love. And when you breathe out with love for sentient beings, wanting them to have happiness, imagine breathing out all of your good qualities, your body, your possessions, your merits of the three times, coming out your right nostril, going out to sentient beings, kind of white light, and entering into the left nostril of sentient beings. Why is it left? Well, because they're facing you, right? Your right is on their left, right? So the same side nostril to the one that you're going out to. So if I'm looking at who's got good clear nostrils here, Susie, well, whose face? I can't see, I don't see everyone. So imagine coming out of, if I were to do that, imagine going out my right nostril into the left nostril of all the sentient beings around you, bringing them happiness. And then when you, out of compassion for sentient beings, realizing that they have suffering and obstructions to omniscience and obstructions to liberation, negative karma, suffering that they're experiencing, imagine taking that on. Imagine that is drawn out from their right nostril and comes into your left nostril, down to your heart, like we did when we did the Tonglen in that verse with the 5 lines, where it destroys the self-cherishing attitude in your mind, in your continuum. When I use that word continuum, remember it's kind of like the continuum of your mind stream. Is that much clearer? Yeah, Susie. I can't see everyone's hand because of the prayers of there. Susie.
Can I just clarify, do you breathe in their problem first, or do you breathe out health and happiness first? Which order is it? Sorry.
Well, you might say in order to breathe out, you have to breathe in, right? But
okay.
You could also say in order to breathe in, you have to breathe out. So here we always talk about when in the teachings on giving and taking, they always say begin by giving, because if sentient beings are overcome by suffering, if they're oppressed by suffering and bad conditions, they won't be able to enjoy what you give them. So always generally, we begin by taking on the suffering of sentient beings. Okay? Take away their suffering, and then sending out to your, usually everything can be combined into 3 things: your body, your possessions, and your merits of the 3 times, the past, present, and future. Your body, your possessions, and your merits of the 3 times. So here are the texts, the commentary by Multu Dharmabhadra says, so he says, what is it meant by mounting it on the scaffolding of the breathing. So here in our translation, it says conjoined with the technique of mounting, taking, and giving. The Tibetan words say tel tonglen lungla kyonpe tutekchen. Tulchek means like magical support. Here it's just saying, I think the technique. Having the magical support of mounting Tonglen, giving and taking on the breathing, on the wind. That's the first step. So he's kind of explaining the etymology of that, the magical support, which it just says here, technique. They're making it very colloquial, or supposedly commentary to that. But in the commentaries, it says, in order to build a building in the old days, well, even now, you have to have scaffolding, right? You put up bamboo poles and other things in order to hold the other floor above when you pour in the either the mud with hay in the old days or the cement or whatever. You need to have some kind of support to build higher and higher. So it's likened to that. It's kind of like something amazing. You know, how can you build a floor up there? How can you build a second floor? You need to have something to support it while it's still being built. So we're using the breathing as a support for Tonglen. So it says out of one's right nostril, breathing out. Along with that, you send out your happiness, your virtues, and so forth in the form of white light, conjoined with love, with thinking of love. And then breathing in the suffering of others in the form of black light and soot that comes into your left nostril down to your heart chakra out of compassion. So as I referred to before in my sophisticated language of a 6-year-old, it's like a double whammy, right? You have different goals here. As you're breathing out of love for others, you want to have them, you want them to be conjoined with happiness. So you're sending out your happiness, your body, your merits and so forth, your virtues, with love, and also with the understanding that the mind that wants to keep them for oneself, the self-cherishing thought, is something you want to eliminate. So you want to get used to giving away that which you hold most dear. Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about, the double whammy. It's not simply just giving, but it's giving with the thought of love and with the understanding that harms your self-cherishing thought. Then when you breathe in, out of compassion for them, wanting sentient beings to be free of their suffering, taking that on oneself, not just on you, but on your self-cherishing thought, not the conventionally existent George or Philip or Susie or Sonny, or I can't see any because the page is up there. I can't see other faces or other names. Cynthia, not to harm Cynthia, but to harm the self-cherishing thought in Cynthia's mind. Does that make sense? Michael, do you understand?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. So, Tonglen Lungla Kyonpe Tu Chenshen, with the magical support or technique of mounting, giving and taking on the wind, on the breath, Jamdang Ninje Lakve Sambayi, through love, compassion, and exceptional thought. Jangshub Semni, Jongpar Jingi, Jonam siso chele joecher, in order to free migrators, droa beings, from the great ocean of existence, or that means samsara. This is a synonym of samsara, right? Grant me blessings to train in fully qualified bodhicitta. Here the text says only in bodhicitta. I don't think that's the right translation. What do you think, Paul? Let's see, where's Paul in here?
Yeah, I think it's probably just emphasis. Train in just this
Well,
bodhicitta.
in the commentaries, oftentimes when we study, these kinds of texts, that ni means senipa, which means qualified, actual bodhicitta. Because in the actual title of this section, it says the way to train in semkeng ngo, actual bodhicitta. So this is kind of like fully qualified bodhicitta. So what is fully qualified bodhicitta? It's not just having love. It's not just having compassion, but it's a thought that has gone beyond that in thinking with laksam, this exceptional attitude or universal responsibility. I myself will do that. So the text explains it like this. The commentary explains it like this. Having set out good qualities and happiness and so forth to other sentient beings, overcoming your self-cherishing attitude, giving out of love for them, taking on out of compassion their suffering and faults and unhappiness and so forth, obstructions, putting it onto your self-cherishing thought. You imagine at the end of that, you just, in imagination, you think, now I've achieved the state of omniscience to benefit sentient beings. It's kind of superficial. Then when that session is over, you think, well, I haven't really changed anything at all. They're still suffering. They're still lacking happiness and so forth. This was all in imagination. In order to actually do this, to eliminate their suffering and conjoin them with happiness, I have to become, I have to have the omniscient mind. I have to be able to do that in actuality. Who can do that? Only a Buddha can lead sentient beings out of suffering, bring them into, the happiness of omniscience. So then at that point, when you're developing this third, the last of the 6 causes, the exceptional thought, you're thinking, there are various stages of it. Can I achieve this? You have to meditate on the clear light nature of your mind, the conventional clear light nature, the ultimate clear light nature, which means the emptiness of your mind, and realize I can become enlightened. And then with the impetus of, wanting to achieve this goal of separating sentient beings from suffering and endowing them with the highest happiness, you think, I must achieve enlightenment for the sake of sentient beings. So that special actual mind of bodhicitta, or is it qualified? See, in Tibetan, there's a word we say senipa. Seni sometimes means definition, or senipa means, fulfills all the qualifications, fully qualified, you might say. So in order to it says, I seek your blessings to train in actual bodhicitta, or fully qualified bodhicitta. Before we were kind of playing, we're practicing through love, compassion, and special attitude, conjoined with this magical support of mounting, taking, and giving on the breath, in order to rescue all migrators from the vast ocean of existence. Make sense? So let me, can I see everyone again? Can I do that? I can see, you can leave that up. I guess I can't see while you have that page up. Take that away from me. So we more take that page away. There we go. So thank you. So the text goes on to say, okay, so we get the main part. So then at the end, when you think, I haven't accomplished anything from this mounting the breathing, Tonglen on the breathing, you think, in order to do that, I must achieve full enlightenment. Zokbe sangegi gopang topna chimarung. How wonderful it would be if I achieved the state of a fully samyak sambuddha, sort of like, actual full Buddha, not just in imagination. How wonderful that would be. When you have that state of mind from doing this meditation, mounting, breathing, and giving and taking on the breath, that's called Monsem Samboa. Monsem means wishing bodhicitta. You know what? Do you know the difference between wishing bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta? Brian, do you know what that is?
I do not know.
Oh, okay. Barbara, do you know what wishing bodhicitta is and engaging bodhicitta, the difference?
Can I help? One is conventional, the other is ultimate.
Who is saying that?
George.
Oh, George. Oh, there you go. No, that's not right.
Really?
No.
Aspiring, one is aspiring to be one, like it's maybe still contrived, maybe like you're trying, but whereas one is you're already practicing.
Little bit closer. Actually, wishing bodhicitta, and the difference between wishing bodhicitta or aspiring bodhicitta, Cynthia said, is another way of translating the same term. That's kind of like, oh man, wouldn't it be nice to go to Goa or Cancun? One of my Dharma friends here in Asheville just sent me some photos. He's down in Cancun teaching a Dharma course, I think, oh, I'd like to go to Cancun. I'm not sure you'd want to go to Cancun. I'd like to become, how wonderful it would be if I was in Cancun. Here, how wonderful it would be if I reached the state of fully completed Buddha, Samyak Sambuddha. That's called wishing bodhicitta. And here it's called Samboa, mere wishing bodhicitta. It's just like how wonderful it would be, Then if you have the thought, I'm making a vow, I'm committing myself to becoming a Buddha. Is that actual bodhicitta or wishing bodhicitta? Sheila, what do you think? I'm
I
making
think
a
actual,
promise.
when you make that commitment, I will do it.
Yeah, I will. Still saying the first one was how wonderful it would be. Even to have that thought is a kind of bodhicitta. It's called mere wishing bodhicitta. Here, this one, when you make a promise, I will, but you're not doing it yet. I will. That's still wishing bodhicitta, but that's called Mongsem Senipa. So this is the same word again, fully qualified wishing bodhicitta. When you actually make a vow, I will. When the Dalai Lama gives bodhisattva vows, bodhicitta vows during Kala Chakra and other times, he says there are various levels. You can just simply think, oh, wouldn't that be nice to become Buddha? When you take these vows, you don't have to take the actual vows. You just think how wonderful it would be to become Buddha. That's kind of this mere wishing bodhicitta. If you actually make maybe you take the vow in the ceremony, you take some vow to achieve enlightenment, and you're satisfied with that. You don't do anything about it. You just say, yeah, I will achieve enlightenment. That's called fully qualified or actual wishing bodhicitta. But the difference between that and actual bodhicitta, what we call engaging bodhicitta, is the difference between wanting to go to Cancun and actually going to the website and putting your credit card and getting the ticket. I say website, going to the travel agent, getting the ticket, starting to walk to the cab, the what do you call it, the Lyft or whatever it is, in the, not Uber. Uber is bringing food, isn't it? What is the other one? Uber, yeah. Getting the Uber to the airport, going through the line. That's kind of like engaging to go there. That's kind of like practicing the Bodhisattva perfections. Practicing what is called the three Mahayana the threefold Mahayana morality. Abstaining from negative actions, collecting virtuous dharmas, benefiting sentient beings. So here in this verse, this is just talking about wishing bodhicitta, this mongsem, doing the tonglen. It's not actual bodhicitta, but it's not engaging bodhicitta, let's say. It is bodhicitta, it's wishing bodhicitta. And on one hand, if you just think, oh man, wouldn't that be nice if I could become Buddha, if I could become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. It's called the mere wishing bodhicitta. And the fully qualified wishing bodhicitta is when you actually make a firm determination, I will do that someday. I will do that. That's called still wishing bodhicitta, but fully qualified bodhicitta. Engaging bodhicitta is in the next verse. Okay. So it makes sense. Does anyone have any question about that? When we talk about these new terms. So some of you hadn't heard this term before, wishing bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta. Engaging means you actually are setting out and doing the practices that are needed to achieve omniscience, to achieve Buddhahood. What are those practices? The 6 perfections. And as we'll see in the next verse, they could be summarized, first of all, into what are called the threefold Mahayana morality. Make sense so far? Michael, you there? Are you in a loud place? That's why you have earphones on, or is it just?
Just easier to listen.
What?
Easier to listen.
Oh, easier to listen. Okay. Okay, so the next verse, we'll introduce this and we'll continue next time. There we go. Somewhere. There we go. Verse 100. Tusum gyawa kungi trochek lam namda gelse dombe gyutam shing tekchok sultim sungi nyamlen la sumpa lulan cheba jingilo. Your English translation says, I seek your blessings that I may eagerly endeavor. I'm not sure. Surlin means more like energetically endeavor to put into practice the 3 Mahayana moral codes. This is what I said, the threefold Mahayana ethics or morality, and to restrain my mind stream with the pure vows of the conqueror's children. You could say sons, but it's male and female are equal here. The single path journeyed by all the conquerors of the 3 times. So what is this saying? Tusum gyalwa. Tusum means the 3 times, the past, present, and future. So sometimes we talk about the 3-time Buddhas, the Buddhas of the past, the present, and the future. There are many references to this in the teachings, but when I went to Shigatse many years ago. I happened to be on the same bus as Jeffrey Hopkins and Liz Napper. I think Paul said you weren't on that trip anyway. So in the distance, we're on the bus going to Shigatse to see the monastery of Tashilumbo, which was the seat of the Panchen Lamas. The Panchen Lama is, of course, the first Panchen Lama is the one who wrote this Lama Chopa text and this Lamrim prayer. So we're going in the distance, we can see this. There's a huge side of a hill that has a tanka. You know what a tanka is? Like this tanka behind me, painted scroll of the Buddhas of the 3 times. So there's 3 Buddhas. So the Buddha of the present is like in Shakyamuni Buddha. And the Buddha of the past, I think it's represented. There's one Buddha of the past that was called, in these pictorial representations, there are many Buddhas of the past, universal teachers who came and turned the wheel of Dharma and so forth. I think the one they usually call is like Atisha, sort of the same name as the famous Lama that came to Tibet to bring the teachings and so forth. And the Buddha of the future is Amitabha in their representation, because the Panchen Lamas are consider the followers of the Panchen Lama consider the Panchen Lama to be an emanation of Amitabha. So that was their choice of the future Buddha. Sometimes they have Maitreya as the future Buddha. So Dusum Gyalwa, the 3-time conquerors, that means the Buddhas of the past, the present, and the future, all of them, the one path that they progress on, Drochiklam, it's not like there's different ways, there's certain differences in techniques and so forth, but there's one path that is always followed, and that is to bind your continuum, Gyudam Shing in the Tibetan, with the vows of the pure vows of the conqueror's offspring, the children, the bodhisattvas. So that means if you want to get to enlightenment, what you've got to do is you have to bind your continuum. That is, when we take vows, domba in Tibetan, it means to tie or to bind. What is it binding? It's constraining you from engaging in negative activities, vows. You're promising not to do negative things generally. So he says the one path of all of the, that was traveled by all of the Buddhas of the past, the present, and the future, the ones that they did travel, the ones that the present Buddha traveled, and the ones in the future that they will travel, is always to bind your continuum, to take the vows of the bodhisattvas, pure vows of the bodhisattvas. And the last word, shing, tekchot sultim sumgi nyamlen la, nyamlen, means the practice of the threefold Mahayana morality. So what is that? Tekchok is another name for Mahayana. Tekpa Chempo or Tekchok, the supreme vehicle. Remember I told you that when I came to Asheville, this lady that had the big Cadillac hearse that was driving me around town, she called it I call this the Mahayana, the great vehicle. So Tekchok is kind of supreme vehicle. Another Tibetan word for Mahayana. So what is the Mahayana threefold morality? Generally in the Hinayana schools, when we talk about morality, the emphasis is on abstaining from negative actions. That's ethics. That's what allows you to cool the mind. The Sanskrit word for morality is shila, not S-H-E-E-L-A, like the girl's name or something, but S-H-I-L-A, you could say. Shila, the root of it kind of comes from a Sanskrit word. One etymology is that it comes from a Sanskrit word that means cooling. So it's kind of cooling off the mind by restraining you from negative actions. You can kind of calm down, cool off. What do we say to kids? Do we say something like that? Cool down, or someone's angry, or cool
Chill
off.
out. Chill
Yeah?
out.
Chill out. There we go. Okay, good. Yeah, thank you. You're more attuned to the vocabulary. Chill out. So what is the Mahayana morality? It's more extensive. The ethics is not only to abstain from negative actions, which is one of them, the threefold, but to collect virtuous dharmas. And what that means is quite extensive. It can mean collecting virtuous karma. It includes that. It can mean accumulating the knowledge of virtuous practices, how to do virtuous practices, understanding how to transfer your consciousness, how to teach, and so forth. It's called collecting virtuous dharmas. So also listening to the teachings, hearing teachings on all of the different sutras and different kinds of practices. That's also included in the morality of collecting virtuous dharmas. So dharmas can mean practices or actual karma and so forth. And the third Mahayana of the threefold Mahayana morality is benefiting sentient beings. So in Atisha's lamp of the path to enlightenment, Atisha was the great Lama that came to Tibet that brought these Lojong teachings and everything. He gave a list, classic list from the Mahayana Sutras of 11 different ways, I think, to benefit sentient beings. So you can take care of people in the hospital and befriend and help and so forth. So that's called the threefold Mahayana ethics or threefold Mahayana morality. Tekchok sultim sumgi nyamlana. In the practice of that, Sumpa lulan chepa jingiro, grant me blessings to assiduously strive in those practices. So this verse is actually talking about engaging bodhicitta. So you might say, well, it's all been words up till now. It doesn't, actually, when you actually take the bodhisattva vow, you bind your continuum with these vows that you will abstain from certain negative actions, and you will actually engage in this threefold morality. Then you have to fulfill that. You have to practice every day. Say, for instance, you try to practice 6 times a day. 6 times a day, the giving, four kinds of giving in the tantric vows we talk. You know what the 4 kinds of giving are? George, So, or is it 3 kinds of giving? 4 kinds of giving. Giving of 2 different lists, sometimes 3, 4. Giving of material, giving, carrots and food and money and so forth. Giving of love. Giving protection. For instance, when people are, this is sort of like in the sanctuary, in the Catholic tradition, the sanctuary of the church, giving protection. If people are in danger of being harmed in some way, giving them protection. And then giving of the Dharma. Giving of the Dharma means giving instructions, all different levels, of the Dharma. So this verse is talking about actual bodhicitta, because in order to, I said actual bodhicitta, the others were actual, even wishing bodhicitta is actual bodhicitta, but this is called engaging bodhicitta. To engage, like, I said, go to the website, give your credit card, or go to the travel agent, give your credit card, get the ticket, go to the Uber, go to the airport, go through the line, get on the plane. And then, you're not yet to Cancun. That's in this analogy, that's enlightenment, right? But in that process, even though there are various stages of it, beginning stage, calming your mind, developing good qualities, practicing the Mahayana ethics and so forth, and then getting on the plane, maybe that's along the path of accumulation, preparation, seeing, and so forth. Landing in Cancun would be like achieving the goal of enlightenment. Okay. So when you do these, this glance meditation, if you're familiar with the meditations, the words themselves can bring up a remembering consciousness of your practice, your taking of the vows and so forth, and can create a lot of virtuous karma just in reciting it slowly. Okay, we're just about finished. Anyone have any comment, observation, question, qualm? Yes, Susie.
Just a quickie. The four givings, the material, the love, the protection, the Dharma. Did you say that's part of the Bodhisattva vows or the Tantric vows?
Generally in the sutra tradition, they talk about three kinds of giving: giving material, giving of I think giving of love, and giving and the generosity of Dharma, giving the Dharma. And I may misappropriated one. The giving of protection, I think, is that right, Paul? More when you're talking in the tantric vows, there are these four. I'm not sure which of the three are from the sutra tradition. I think is generally certainly material and giving Dharma, and
I don't remember either.
yeah, okay, I'll have to check for you. But when you take tantric vows, they talk about the four kinds of giving, doing, performing those 6 times a day. Like, for instance, when you take, any of you have taken tantric vows in the Gelugpa tradition, there's something called the six session yoga. Is anyone here recite the 6 session yoga? Okay, only 2. Okay, that's good. Myself also. So the idea of that is every 6th of a day, you try to again take refuge, generate bodhicitta, imagine the guru in front in the aspect of being a Buddha, your guru in the aspect of being Vajradhara, the Buddha, and then making offerings to collect merit, merging with their mind, imagine merging with their mind stream. And within that practice also, one can find elements of giving the Dharma to sentient beings and giving protection and so forth, these fourfold kind of giving. Someone else? George? Oh, Sheila.
Could you go over wishing bodhicitta and fully qualified bodhicitta? You said that's part of wishing bodhicitta.
Yeah, okay, so first time you hear, you don't see that, is almost have to, it's like painting a wall. Like first time you put on the primer, and then you have to have a second coat, maybe even a third coat to get it clear. So basically 2 kinds of conventional bodhicitta: wishing bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta. So in the wishing bodhicitta was the previous verse about mounting the wind, taking and giving on the wind. We said, just to have the thought, man, wouldn't it be wonderful to become Buddha? That's called mere wishing bodhicitta.
Right.
Fully qualified wishing bodhicitta, or you say maybe qualified bodhicitta is the thought that thinks, I will, maybe even taking a ceremony, but not necessarily engaging in the activities yet. That's called, it's still wishing bodhicitta. It's bodhicitta, it's a thought that thinks, I must achieve enlightenment for the sake of sentient beings. Maybe the mere wishing bodhicitta is more like, wouldn't it be great if I could achieve, if I could become a Buddha for the sake of sentient beings, admiring like that. And
so
then
could you say maybe wishing bodhicitta is like thinking you'd like to go on vacation, you want to go to Cancun?
Yeah, right.
Fully qualified, maybe you get the pamphlets and the brochures and you start like planning your trip, but then engaging
Okay,
is when
right.
you actually
We
get
could
on the
find
plane.
we could probably find some analogies there. Yeah, fully qualified would be like, maybe some of those things that you're doing, but you haven't set off for the airport yet.
Right.
Maybe you got a visa in case you want to go.
Okay.
Like you renewed your passport, you get your visa and all this sort of stuff, but you haven't set off. Engaging bodhicitta is setting off on that journey. So engaging in the bodhisattva activities that we'll talk about next time. So although this prayer has many other verses to go, including the tantric path and dedication prayers at the end, we will hopefully we'll cover the 6 perfections next time. There's 6 verses, it's a couple extra, but I will check with Sneh, if I'm pronouncing right. I want to say Sneh, but Sneh.
Sine.
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 Yeah, Sneh. Almost, yeah, there's an extra syllable there, but if you just want to make it simple, Sneh. I had mentioned to her before that we might want to, if it was possible according to the schedule, to add 1 or 2 extra sessions after next week, but it depends on you guys. So I'll ask her to check with you, but at least we'll have 1 more session next week. And if possible, a session or 2 more to cover the tantric and the last verses about dedication and everything that are in this prayer.
Please add the session because I'm missing next week's session. So
Oh, okay.
I'm going to visit my 91-year-old mother, which I haven't seen in 2 years.
Oh, George, I'm so happy. So you are wishing to visit her.
But I bought the ticket.
You got the ticket, so you're engaging in it's actual engaging visit. Okay, that's excellent. But you can always catch up on YouTube. Depends on where she is. If there's internet or you don't, when you get back, you can always catch up.
Yeah.
I think all of these are posted to YouTube. So thank you very much. Let's end with a little dedication of the merit that we've created. Sit comfortably, relax your body and mind again. And within the clear nature of your mind, remember that we've created virtuous karma this evening that will definitely ripen on our continuum, our future. Dedicate that, make a firm determination that that karma ripen in such a way that it's not simply used up with some superficial happiness, but that we dedicate it to the full enlightenment, to our full enlightenment for the sake of sentient beings, so that we'll never be exhausted until that state is achieved. Due to these merits, may I quickly become a Guru Buddha and set every sentient being, as a result of becoming Buddha, set every sentient being into that very same state of omniscience. Okay, thank you very much. Have a good weekend. We still have a couple of days of Sakadawa left, this karma multiplying month, so do your best.
Thank you, Venerable George.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank
George.
you, Venerable.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you, Shantideva.
Thank you.